We're 5 minutes late, the sports wrap. George, Ringer, and a guest again. You know, it only took us, about 2.5 months to get another guest on.
Yeah.
Do you know who our last guest was?
I don't.
Ty Boyle.
Oh, well, there we go.
So there you go. Bjorn Johnson, 2001?
2001, yeah.
2001 graduate.
Yeah.
So that means he was a member of the 2000 and 1999 section championship football teams, and went on to teach in Onania, coach a little football.
Yeah.
And now he's Mr. Jiu-Jitsu of Washington State.
Yeah. Well, can't watch. I do want to. I was there in 2003 when we were runners-up.
That's right. You were coach. That's right.
And fact is, Ty Boyle played on that team.
Yes, he did.
There's some games I'd like to forget along the way. I talked about one of those today. I was working out and the song Thunderstruck was being played.
Oh, yeah.
I think George might recall that when we lost to Evelyn in 2001, they had that game on repeat after they beat us in a major, what I would call a major upset. And as I told the people that I was working out with, it took me almost 10 years before I could listen to that song again, just because it was too painful. Too painful.
Well, you know, I was scouting a game, I don't know where, maybe in Greenway probably, because I scouted every Greenway game ever. And then we had to pick you up. Bill Schrader was with me, and we had to pick you up in Virginia after the game, so we go over the scouting report so I could go hunting the next day. And that was one of the worst car rides back ever.
I actually had forgotten about that part, because I remember after the game was over, we had a team meeting in the bus about practicing, because it was on a Friday, and we had to play on a Wednesday, and whether we were going to practice on Saturday. And all the boys, I remember, said, yes, we're practicing in the morning. And it made for a very short night and an early morning, but we got the job done. The boys rebounded and played well the next week. We got by Crosby, and then we ran into the buzzsaw that was Greenwood.
Yeah, and on my old UMD field, that was. But the Evelyn game I remember because I got a little over exuberant with one of the boys, and I cracked him in the head, and I was bleeding for most of the game, or the second half of the game, and the scar's still there, so I remember that.
Derek Smith and I still talk about it.
Yeah, headbutt.
was one of the few times that my father ever told me that something wasn't my fault. Anyway, that's another story for another day.
That was probably mine.
So, Bjorn, tell everybody you've been out in Washington now, what?
5 years. 5 years.
I was going to say 4 or 5 years.
Yep, 5 years in Spokane, Washington, and it's been good. I work out there and have found all types of different careers, but you know, in terms of sports-related stuff, I train at Newborn Cascal Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. This is a 7th year of training, 5th year out there. So
my question that I was thinking about today was, why Jiu-Jitsu? Why not Judo or Taekwondo or Karate? Why Jiu-Jitsu? What is it about Jiu-Jitsu maybe that's different than those other ones, and why you chose that one for your...
Right. It's the most efficient way to kill somebody with your bare hands. No, it's what was there. It's what was there, and I didn't know anything about it. Of course, George and I were talking right before the show. When I came to school here, wrestling. There wasn't a wrestling program of any sort.
No, that's right. It had been gone for 6 or 8 years. But you know, when you're coaching wrestling, you run into a lot of different martial arts.
Yep.
And I knew a couple of people that did jiu-jitsu, and jiu-jitsu is basically submission holds. You give, and wrestling you get pinned. Sometimes it feels like that it's submission, but it's not really. And jiu-jitsu is all submission. And you see these guys, some of these boxers, wrestlers, now they're very well equipped to do jiu-jitsu. And very popular, I believe, in South America and Central America. So it's if you get a chance to see, and I've seen a couple of jiu-jitsu tournaments. It's wild.
So judo was in the Olympics. I think karate was too this year. But again, what makes jujitsu?
Yep.
I mean, it's the submission hold, but
Yep.
there must be certain rules that you can't grab the legs or you can't grab.
Aside from like eye pokes and groin shots, that's about it. But really, the art of jujitsu is fighting off your back, right? Learning how to. So wrestlers, if they get on their back, you've lost, right? Well, jujitsu, I'll start on my back and then figure out how to work my way to the top. So this is why it's been a fantastic thing for mixed martial arts.
Well, actually, when I wrestled, I kind of started on my back a lot too, but it was a different deal.
Right.
So, yeah,
right.
So you work up from your back because is it the idea to score points, or is it
Sure.
or is it eventually to get a submission?
Well, there's two different schools of thought in this, or practices.
Sure.
There is sport jiu-jitsu, which is governed by the IBJJF, the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, and then there is self-defense jiu-jitsu. And really, the idea behind it is, at the end of the day, is a smaller, less physical opponent can overcome a bigger, more physically dominant opponent who's untrained in the art. That's the idea behind it. So in the early 90s, if we rewind to like UFC 1, this guy came in wearing pajamas who looked like, didn't look like an athlete or anything, and beat everybody. I said, what's going on here? And then he did it again the next year. Then he almost did it again the third year, but got hurt. And his name was, he was Mr. Gracie himself. And that's when Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu exploded. It had been in the States for quite a while before that. Chuck Norris was famously one of the first American Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts, but the idea is to help you get out of bad positions in a more against a more physically dominant opponent. Now the sport has evolved, and like all good sports, it originates from judo, right, and using submissions. But now, if you really want to be a skilled jiu-jitsu player, you have to have a little judo. You have to have a lot of wrestling, because we got to figure out how to start on our feet.
Exactly.
And then we start throwing in some submission holds, and it's great. And why did I start training? Well, I still ask myself that often, but it was something I could do. Wrestling, it's hard to start wrestling at 30 years old. Or regular collegiate wrestling, whether it's Greco or freestyle, the pounding that it puts on your body, you can't really do that. Whereas jiu-jitsu, we're simulating combat and keeping each other safe while getting a good workout and developing skills.
Well, in a good many martial arts, including wrestling, you can mature a little bit later. I've known 38-year-old Olympic champions.
Yes.
Now, these 38-year-old Olympic champions are very special, but they can, like long-distance runners. But the amount of training is decades, and with jiu-jitsu, it's the same way. It becomes part of a lifestyle.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
So you're selling houses?
Selling houses, and I work as a carpenter, and I sell bread.
I was going to say, you're still making bread?
Of
We've got to
course.
make bread, yeah. He chose to send us pictures all the time. Look at that bread. Don't be showing me those pictures. Send me some of those loaves.
Yeah, you got to hustle every day a little bit.
So what's the bread specialty? What is it that if you were going to bring me a loaf of bread, this would be, what kind would you bring me, because it's the best you do?
Well, a few weeks ago we went out for sushi. My girlfriend Ashley's here, and it occurred to me, I'm done with the rolls with all the fancy stuff. I just want good, high-quality fish. And in the same idea with my bread, my plain loaf, that's what I want to be the best. The other stuff on there, it's great if you like that, but I want you to eat that plain loaf that I make with nothing on top, nothing added. I want you to go, this is good. Then I know I did right. And I feel like I do that quite successfully. So.
After how many years? You even did like a show on making bread.
Yeah. I guess I started like 3 years ago, but like anything, when I get into it, I invest the time and whatnot, and I think, I'm not exaggerating, the first year I made just shy of 1,000 loaves, because I figured if I could get to that number, I'd be pretty good. And it helped that in the process of doing this, friends and family out there were like, hey, we'll buy it from you. And well, then this thing named COVID came along, and money was a little hard, and guess what? The bread business picked up.
A lot of people at home eating sandwiches.
They talk about the sales of sourdough went sky high, and everybody, baking took off when the epidemic hit, and I don't know, I like freshly baked bread. As you can,
Good stuff.
Tough to beat with a good pat of butter or 3 on it.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway,
It is.
So, let's talk some sports.
Let's do that.
Where do you want to start there, George?
We can go anywhere you want. I can do any angle.
You leave this up to me, so, well, let's start with football this week.
Let's start with football.
Do you want to start with who? You notice how I led you into that. I
Okay.
want to start with Aaron Rodgers.
Let's
because I
start
want
with-
to get this party. We've been 2 nights.
Okay,
so
there
far.
was a-
Let's get this cranked
Hey,
up.
Mike, Aaron Rodgers is up.
Aaron Rodgers
Aaron
is up.
Rodgers is up. Okay, let's talk about him.
Is Aaron Rodgers that special?
No,
that he
he's-
can get fined less for breaking COVID protocols than for a guy who has his shirt untucked during a football game?
Apparently, it's called narcissism, and and after a
What
while,
is the NFL going to call it when they let him do it?
I don't.
What the heck is that called?
The NFL is really kind of putting, as I see it, their head into a noose by covering it this way, and the same way with the Packers.
Well, if my name was Kirk Cousins, and I know that Kirk is not vaccinated, and I know he's probably got to wear the mask around the thing, I'd say for $14,000 for the rest of the season, I don't have to wear my mask at the shop, at practice, when I'm walking around the building. I don't have to do this. I can go out with my friends in great protocol and whatever else, and I'm only going to get fined $14,000 out of $28 million.
Ultimately, this will hurt the brand. I'm going to tell you, on Sunday, this Sunday, instead of at 11 o'clock watching the crew to get together to talk about Sunday's football games, I'm going to find a new book. And I'm going to take Sunday off. And I haven't done that. I have never threatened to do that. But there's lots of people like me and like you that really have other things to do as opposed to put up with that. And
Well,
it's just...
it just doesn't make sense to me that I understand he's a superstar. Those, to me, the superstars are the ones that you lambaste because he's got the money to be able to have to pay a fine and show everybody else that, hey, we're not going to take this. But to fine the Packers $300,000, oh, I got to write a check to some charity for $300,000.
Yeah.
Big whoop-de-doo. We were going to do that anyway. $14,650 for Aaron Rodgers. That's what, maybe
Half a quarter? Maybe
half
one
a quarter
series?
or a quarter of a quarter's pay.
He is going from MVP to the dregs. One fell swoop. I can't believe he's capable of even doing that.
But I gotta believe that yes, there's people out there like you that are going to protest what's going on with what's going on there, and then there are going to be other people that are going to be like, I love Aaron Rodgers. He's told everybody, screw you, I don't have to follow the rules. I shouldn't have to follow the rules. I'm my own person and do that. And now the people are going to say, well, I want to watch the Packers because I want to see if Aaron Rodgers is going to play and watch what he does and how he feels and everything else. And there are people out there that are applauding this.
Well, I felt the same way when I was 18 to 20, but you can't do it that way. It just does not, it doesn't affect. And when you have a so-called leader, they used to say, the paratroopers would say, a leader in the paratroopers is the first one out the plane and the last one in the mess hall line. And he's not a leader. He's just a guy with an incredible amount of skills that can play game. And when you take a look at that, we go through those.
I just remember a guy that used to live in town named Nick Schenecker, and all he'd say is, I don't care, just win, baby. I don't care what you do outside. Just if we win, we're good to go. So I think there's there's that flip side. I'm playing the devil's advocate with you, George. No. It's just, to me, I don't know. Where are you at, Jordan?
I don't know that Aaron Rodgers wanted to play football this year, and I don't know how long he's been done with football. That's one thing. There is part of me that shakes my head too, because see, Allstate is cutting his commercials. This was a guy who legitimately could be the next Jeopardy host. That's gone, and I'm sure Aaron Rodgers won't starve, but he left a lot of money on the table.
No matter what he
very
does,
selfish decision.
do you think he'll be most valuable player this year?
No, I don't think so.
Ever again? I don't think so.
So I don't want to leave Aaron Rodgers and the Packers without asking about Jordan Love. I did not watch the game.
I did.
Minus probably 5 or 6 plays. I probably turned it on Sunday. It didn't look like he had a good day.
He did not have a good day.
Points.
No, and so I get reports and they say they did not prepare him for this day. And so, and that's because Aaron Rodgers takes all the reps. He is the man. and all of a sudden, and if he's kind of like having two dogs, they get jealous over when you scratch one over the other. He did not want to have any kind of competition, and if they set him down and let him throw the ball on the sidelines, he won't. And so, but the Green Bay Packers look pathetic, and they got a pretty good defense.
Obviously, they held Kansas City, who is having a bad year, to 13 points, so their defense didn't play bad.
Oh, no, they didn't. And there's a couple of other people on that team that, I think right now they designed an offense that's almost there, but it certainly isn't there unless Rodgers has both feet on the ground, and right now he doesn't have any feet on the ground.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he passes protocol to be able to play this Sunday.
Yeah.
Everybody was sure that he was going to get suspended. I was sure he was going to get suspended, but obviously that's not occurring.
Well, when you brought up State Farm, this is a company that's dedicated to personal safety. And so they're saying, well, we believe in the right to choose between vaccines. Well, that a lot of times is not personal safety. And so now all of a sudden you have a guy that's trying to sell insurance that has this on his back. I don't see it. This is going to hurt. This is going to hurt State Farm as well. And I have to admit, I like their commercials.
I honestly don't think it'll affect State Farm in the end if they're dropping Aaron Rodgers. Matter of fact, I don't think it would matter whether they kept him or didn't keep him, because I think there's enough people on both sides of the fence that I don't think that it's going to matter. Let's talk about the Vikings.
Yes.
As painful as it is.
It was painful.
What's the issue, Bjorn? What do the Vikings need to do differently?
Well, many years ago, I was part of a 10th grade team that lost a bad game of Bemidji, and I had a coach who gave a big spiel, and he said, hey, you got to ask yourself what you're going to do to be a better football player, and I'm going to ask myself what to do to be a better coach. And one of the other players asked this coach, said, what are you going to do to be a better coach? George said, I'm going to get better players. This team needs a better coach. That's what it comes down to. What are the Vikings going to do? They need a better coaching staff and a better GM, and I have been on this for 4 or 5 years. Mike Zimmer would be a great D2 college coach. He knows how to motivate those guys, but by God, he does not know NFL football. He does not know how to motivate those guys, and he's got too much ego to let the offense do their thing, and he doesn't know enough about NFL defense to win any games. I'm surprised we got 3 wins. So is that we got 3 wins?
3 wins.
3 wins.
As long as we have him and we have Spielman in the front office, we're going to be in this loop. And I can say that because we've been in this loop for 4 years.
Well, and I mean, they're 3-5, and I hate to bring this up, but they're not out yet. They still have 9 games to go. They got a tough one in LA that I'm not sure. Last time I saw LA play, they didn't look like the dominant team that I saw earlier. So I mean, they can still do some things now. Now we got Delvin Cook coming up with some domestic abuse charges. I'm not sure where that's going to lead, but these are distractions that you just do not want to have at this time of year. Also,
and I thought about this today when this came out, or last night when the Delvin Cook thing came out. He hasn't seemed to been himself. Yes, he was injured, but he hasn't seemed to been himself the last few weeks. He hasn't been his explosive self. Is it injury, or is it because of this situation?
I watched Alexander Madison run, and there was a time that I thought, is that Madison or is that Cook? Well, it was Madison, and and I just thought, holy cow! I haven't seen Delvin Cook do that. Although he did have one good run, or even a couple of good runs, but no, the real feisty is there. But I'll tell you, the other thing is the offensive line is not performing well, and they. They're just not getting that drive block, and they're running out of people, and people are getting hurt.
Yeah, I don't know what the run per carry is if you take that 66-yarder out of there that Delvin had last week, because I think he ended up with 108 yards.
I think he did,
18 or 19 carries, but 66 of that came on one. It has become apparent over the last 2 or 3 weeks that the holes that normally are there aren't there. They just haven't done the job. on a consistent enough basis.
And they're leading the league in penalties, including holding for the offensive line. They're leading the league. Well, that gives you a little idea of what's going on. And this is Clint Kubiak's deal. I mean, he's got to come in there. He's going to have to get used to the job, and I don't want to lay any one pressure on him. But if he's going to get that offensive going,
I agree. He's 8 games into his offensive coordinator career. You learn things. We all coach. We all know that how you coached your first year coaching vastly different than your 5th or 10th year of coaching. You learn so much more that you can't unless you're actually doing the job. So I want to give Clint Kubiak a little leeway, but his head coach told him the other day, you got to be more aggressive. You got to do more after turnovers. We talked about that, or we didn't talk about, but Thielen and Jefferson only had 5 total catches in the game on Sunday.
For Thielen, two catches for 6 yards.
So what do we want to attribute that to? Let's be realistic. What are we going to attribute that to? Is it offensive line? Is it quarterback? Or is it receiver?
So I've never been a Kirk Cousins fan either myself, so I'm a little bit biased in this. But
a guy who throws 70%, complete 70% of his passes, you aren't a fan?
Well, I can throw a 2-yard pass. Over and over. And his accuracy is such an issue. It's like every throw I watch from him, like, are you trying to get your receivers hurt? And it's simple throws where he's behind or too far ahead. And, Jefferson doesn't like to take a hit, and that's okay. He's not the guy that needs to be over the middle. But by God, don't string him out because he's not a real big guy.
And when they played against the Ravens now, I'm not sure how good a defense the Ravens even have. So that's kind of concerned. I'm not sure how good of an offense they have either. They got Jackson, who's, face it, I mean, if they can protect him well enough to make him get through the season. But he and Justin Fields, these are Michael Vick type things. So if you buy into the philosophy that you now have a running quarterback and you can protect them well enough to keep them on the field, you don't think they can. I don't think they can, but they're certainly going to try. Meanwhile, Lamar Jackson's really fun to watch.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're taking Adam Thielen and saying that it's Kirk Cousins' fault.
I am. It's just
actually Adam Thielen's saying the same thing right now.
Okay.
He's not happy with the situation.
Okay. So why is he unhappy? That's where I want to fish to. Why is he unhappy?
Well, I think that I don't think he is pleased with the routes that they're sending him on.
That's not Kirk Cousins' fault. I'm going to just throw that. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well,
because I'm going to defend.
The problem of it is that Cousins hasn't been able to get him the ball, and he gets the ball to Jefferson on some of those streaks. But that's what Thielen is upset about, and whoever's fault it is, they're not doing it.
Do you think Thielen has lost a step speed-wise? And I'm asking that, not trying to be a jerk about it.
No, what is he, 35 years old?
No, he's probably 30.
30? Well, he's got plenty to go.
I think he's lost a step. I'm going to be honest. I don't think he's running the routes that he used to. He got into the league because he could run outstanding routes and got to certain places that the other guys didn't want to go to or couldn't go to. I don't think he either A, is being asked to run those routes anymore, or B, wants to run those routes anymore, and he's not going to put himself into a spot where he's going to get hurt. Now, I love Thielen. I got a Thielen jersey at home, but I won't put that son of a gun on because I don't think he's playing 100%. I think he's going through the motions a little bit. I've made it. I'm making a heck of a lot of dough, and whether I catch 14 passes this season or I catch 114 passes, the paycheck at the end of the day is going to be exactly the same. And I am a hero in the state of Minnesota because I'm a small town boy that made it big, and I don't have to go out and risk my neck anymore. That's where I'm going with Adam Thielen.
Oh, I think that's a bit of a stretch, but
okay.
A couple of things. When he took that big hit a year ago and wound up landing on his head, I really haven't seen him 100% back from then.
Okay, that's the point I'm trying to make. He is not 100%. He's not going 100%.
There have been games that he's had outstanding games, and he can still catch the football.
We got to get him to do it every game.
Oh yeah, if he doesn't have seven or eight catches, between him and Jefferson, they're missing a whole half of the field.
All right, anything else we want to talk about with the Vikings? I'm going to ask it this way. Are they going to win this Sunday? At the Chargers.
They'll win one half for sure.
They'll win one half.
I don't know which one, but one of them.
Well, it's depending on how the defense is playing. If you've noticed, my friend Anthony Barr, he was all over the field, got an interception, an incredible interception. If that defense can play, but there's guys on that defense, I don't even know their names. They're coming on and they're hurt, and it's just same way with the offensive line. They gave up 34 points.
Is that a good defense? Yeah,
I don't know.
Offense scored 31. Okay, they only scored 24 because the kickoff return was 6 of the points. But anyway, yes, win.
I hope so. I think so. Yes.
Yeah, they're going to go. They're going to win.
I agree. They're going to win. They're going to win 4-5. They win on Sunday. It'll be close. It'll be exciting. It'll be tense. It'll be down to probably the final play of the game. And that's just the way the NFL wants it. They kind of like it that way, that all these games are going to overtime. You realize that the Vikings have played 3 overtime games already this year. It's pretty insane. And what are they in those overtime games? 1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Not as good as we'd like to. What else did we see in the NFL, if anything, from last Sunday that we want to talk about?
I'll tell you what I saw was I watched Justin Fields. Now, he's a lot like Lamar Jackson in that he's a running quarterback, but he, again, was magic for the Bears, and he almost pulled the upset.
He had 6 points at the end of the third quarter.
I know.
Okay, I didn't watch the game.
Yeah.
Didn't watch a play of it. How can you tell me he was magic if they only had 6 points at the end of the third quarter?
He was the only offense that they had. And this is what the guy is. He drops back, takes it out of the pistol, and looks around. Because I think his first attitude is to run, and he's going to look there. He is one of 2 running backs back there, and he's a very good one. I don't think he can throw the ball that well, but I'm not sure that in his mind he has to.
Okay. Hey, your Seattle Seahawks out there?
Oh,
they're getting Russell back this week.
One of my favorite parts of being in Spokane is to actively cheer against and talk trash about the Seattle Seahawks. And watching them lose week after week makes my day. I can't. Every now and then I see a purple and gold flag out there and I get excited. But otherwise, we're 300 miles from Seattle and these people are still cheering for the Seahawks, so I can't even take them seriously. And I've never liked Pete Carroll, but that's another.
That is the full story right there.
We don't have enough film for that.
I do want to bring up one other point to just tell you how bad the Vikings got beat. They had 13 first downs. The Ravens had 36. When you keep the defense on that long.
That was the offense's fault. The defense was on the field for so long because that was the offense's fault.
Well, whoever's fault it was, the defense was out there a whole lot more than the offense.
The start of the fourth quarter, a couple of minutes into the fourth quarter, the Vikings had run 7 plays for 41 yards and had a touchdown. Baltimore had run like 33 plays and had scored 2 touchdowns. And it was like the reason why Fox put the stat up there was because, this is made to show you how bad the Vikings have been. And I'm like, well, geez, if the defense is letting them go 3, 3, 3, 3 and get a first down, that's not the offense's fault. But everybody seemed to want to make it out that the Vikings defense was on the field for so long because the offense couldn't do anything.
No, but what it is, the defense is not going to play as well in the fourth quarter as they do in the first when they're on the field that much.
Well, yeah, but it was their fault, not the offense's fault. That's what I'm trying to say. They're blaming the offense for not being on the field longer.
No,
they were allowing them to go
on the other hand,
15-play drives.
Their point is 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 times.
That was
Maybe
2 weeks ago.
Well,
I think 2 weeks ago.
I think it was pretty much this time too, wasn't it? They were
but the one they scored a touchdown. They went 4 plays and scored a touchdown. Then they went 3 and out. Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, guys, get into shape so you can play football. Thanks.
Yes. There you go. Yes.
All right. Let's see. Anything else in the NFL? Because now we got to talk about another bad subject.
Yeah, so we do.
Now we got to talk about the Gopher football team.
Amazing, I have that on my list.
89 yards rushing only.
Illinois had 6 sacks. Tanner Morgan is not producing because he does not have the receivers that he had before. And I have to congratulate the running backs for doing what they're doing. Bucky, as he is now knowing again, is playing well. Thompson's. I mean, these guys, they're giving it a pretty good shot. But I want to know, where is this great, big, incredible, kill you offensive line that's supposed to be damming everybody up? And I don't see that.
To me, you can't rush for only 89. If you only rush for 89 yards after rushing for 300 the 2 weeks before that, then they're giving up the pass.
Well, yeah, and they are.
And then you gave up 6 sacks, and yes, the second interception was thrown at the end of the game, but you gave up 6 sacks. There's a correlation, a wrong correlation here.
Yeah.
That just tells me that the offensive line was horrible.
No, actually, when you take a look and they look at the film of this, there is no excuses. They got beat
at their own game.
At their own game, at their own thing. And I mean, they're going to Iowa this week. And that's a pretty good knowing smile, and it's just So if they're playing Iowa, how are you calling that one?
Well, I'm telling you what, Iowa was number 2 in the nation 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. I don't remember which one, and now they're like number 20 or whatever. I honestly think it's going to be a very close game. I give Iowa the edge because they're at home. But Iowa is not the number 2 team in the nation. They never have been. I don't know how they got there. I'm not sure whose envelope they filled with money to get there. Anyway, that's another story for another day. They're not that. Iowa is just as good as the Gophers are just as good as Iowa, or vice versa.
Well, and then there's.
But Iowa gets the advantage because they're at home.
Well, and there's some other teams involved. I mean, Michigan State now has been rubbed out, and what they were number 2 or number 4, 3, and so they took a hit on there. Purdue seems to be back in the business, and this is a team that we beat in West Lafayette. I mean, hey, everybody seems to be able to beat everybody else up.
Yeah, so it's wide open. The Gophers are really in control of their destiny still. They were
exactly.
Last week. They still are, because there's 4 teams with 4-2 records: Purdue, Iowa, Wisconsin, and us. We got Iowa this week. If you beat Iowa, obviously you're still in first place, but now you beat Purdue and Iowa, and now you got Wisconsin left over. It's kind of scary. Wisconsin early in the season was playing, can I just say, bad football? Not very good football.
Yeah.
They seem to be righted the ship, and we get Wisconsin the last game Thanksgiving.
This
Saturday.
seems to work out that way a lot. And,
That what?
Wisconsin comes to be a determining game on the whole season. So, and if we were 0-8 and we beat Wisconsin, we'd all be pretty happy. So
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Maybe that offensive line's problem was it was Halloween the weekend before. We know how rowdy it can get in Dinkytown, George.
There you go. There you go. All right, Gophers win on Saturday at Iowa. George, Gophers win?
I think they're going to come up short.
I'm going to go with the Gophers.
Going with the Gophers. It's going to be really close. I agree. I'm going with Iowa only because it's at home. It's going to be really close. It's going to be fun to see how things all pan out, but it's going to be close. But I'm going to give the edge to Iowa, as I said.
Do they still play for that pig trophy?
Still play for
Good.
You were there once.
42-2 all time. Iowa, but the Gophers have not beaten Iowa since 2014.
That's a long time.
That's a long time. Can you say that the law averages say you're due?
Yeah. Well, I thought that the Gophers were due last week after the coach signed a 7-year, $5 million a year type thing. I think it might have been too.
That was part of the problem. Too much celebrating on making $5 million and not enough preparing the team.
That's interesting.
What else happened in college football last week?
Army won in overtime.
Army won.
Beat Air Force.
George is very happy.
I was, yeah. No, that was actually it was the best game on in the afternoon. After I was watching the Gophers really kind of fall apart, and there was some other games, but the Army Air Force game was a dandy, and of course my UMD Bulldogs, they stuck it to Augustana, and so I did have a couple of things to feel good about.
Michigan State did lose, really the only top team to lose last week out of the top 4 So that kind of moved Cincinnati one step closer, made them a little happier because, Ohio State and Michigan's coming up, and Michigan's 6 now. So Michigan, Ohio State, last game of the year, 4 and 6, somewhere probably in that vicinity. That means one of them is in, and one of them is, of course, Ohio State's got to maybe play, or Michigan's got to play in the Big Ten championship game. We'll see what all pans out there. North Dakota State, South Dakota State. The Bison are now no longer undefeated.
Nope.
They went to Brookings and got beat by South Dakota State. Got to watch part of that game, and it looked like to me like South Dakota State was in command.
The last couple of years they've been able to do that. They've got a really, really good team.
They've been able to get to the Bison. So I'm not sure what's happening there. But I'm sure they may see each other down the road.
Oh, no, the tournament, remember last year they played their tournament in the springtime. They played their season in the springtime. We get it in the fall this year, and that's where it should be.
Good stuff coming up there.
Yeah.
Obviously between those teams.
Yes.
Anything else college football-wise? Is Cincinnati a top 4 team? We should address it.
Okay. They have a very good quarterback. They have a nice offense. I'm not sure about the defense, and you take a look at they had the squeak to beat Navy, and so it's been real close. They haven't been, of course. You have to beat everybody by 45 points to be in the top 5. I don't know, but
no.
Yeah.
I think Alabama showed that they can almost choke against LSU at home.
Oh boy!
And they didn't get dropped. They didn't get hurt because of that. So
everybody's looking for a chance to put Alabama back up over Georgia. I think Alabama, they're kind of a favorite amongst the media and such. What can I say? Saban's a popular guy.
I don't see Georgia getting beat.
I don't either.
Too good a defense.
Yeah, they got
good a defense.
and not a bad offensive line either.
Crazy, and they got their starting quarterback back the other day to make things more confusing. Now you got multi-dimensions at quarterback to see what's going.
Yeah.
Shall we talk Wild?
Let's talk some Wild. They're picking up the pace. Yes.
The Wild have won 3 in a row. Some I got to share this with everybody because I've been telling this story all week. So Saturday night, I'm driving home from my volleyball matches that I was doing on a sister radio station on Saturday. So I'm listening to the Wild game out of Duluth on WDSM 7:10 a.m. Oh my gosh! And I got it all the way almost till 4. And it was starting to get pretty scratchy, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to put it on XM. So I got it on XM, and I'm listening to the Pittsburgh feed, the Pittsburgh announcers. And I don't know what the color guy had for dinner or was drinking, but he was having a heck of a good time. And he was fun to listen to. So you might recall that the game went to a shootout, and Kirill Kaprizov got to shoot third. And actually got to keep the shootout going. And Kirill came down, and the play-by-play guy was going, Kaprizov comes into the zone, he scores! And the color guy goes, oh my goodness, that move was buttery.
Buttery, I like that.
Buttery. I'm like...
See, when you go to sports, you have to have cliches. You'll pick that up.
I got to try to use buttery at some point this year. It's going to be. I don't know when it's going to come out of my face, but there's going to be a hockey game, and I'm going to go, that move was buttery.
Buttery.
I tried to find the play. I tried to find the shot on the internet. I couldn't find it, so I want to know what the move was that was so buttery. But anyway, the Wild have won 3 games in a row. They are in Arizona tonight. They're in Vegas tomorrow night, which is Thursday.
9:30 games, yeah.
And then in Seattle on Saturday. So they got 3 road games in 4 days. And if they come out of this stretch, they should beat Arizona, who's only won 1 game this year. Vegas is always tough, and obviously playing out at Seattle a couple weeks ago, they lost out there. They're off to a good start. They're 1 point out of first place in the Central, and Kirill got a goal, and I think I demonstrated last week, and I think he's relaxed, and he's still leading the team in points. So
and he's smiling. He goes on. I mean, the kid is having a good time, and as long as he has fun.
$9 million a year playing the game that you love, would you be smiling all the time?
Yeah.
I'd be smiling all the time if they were paying me $9 million.
No, you played and they didn't give you nothing.
And I still smile.
And you're still smiling. Well, I don't know about that, but anyway, yeah, that's they're back in normal, and I knew that the thing was going to swim around, but he took it upon himself, and like the coach says, you could see them coming off, just gripping their stick. They weren't relaxed. There was no butteriness. I can use it before you. So
the thing is, I think this team is exuding confidence right now because it's not just one player. It's a multitude of players that are scoring.
Dumbo scoring, and
so they're fun to watch right now.
And actually, it's like I've told you before, Kaprizov is really a fun player to watch, and but I like Dumba myself. I think he is just amazing. He's just out there. He's willing to hit anybody anytime and score. And he's also having a very good time.
Somebody was mentioning, I think I was watching FSN feed the other night. Valley Sports, sorry, still FSN. Anyway, they were talking about the fact that a couple of years ago, maybe it was the radio, that Dumbo is on the second power play right now. And 3 or 4 years ago, that would have affected his play everywhere because he'd have been mad because he wasn't, I'm not good enough to play on the first power play, so I'm going to pout and I'm not going to do the things. Well, now he's more confident in himself. He's grown up. He's matured. And
he's a leader out there. You can tell.
And playing better. So, it's fun to watch. So anyway, scary part. Florida still playing out of their minds.
They lost the game though.
They lost two in regulation.
Yeah.
Carolina's 10-1, and Edmonton is 9-2. So anyway, just those things I'm keeping track of.
It's early in the season.
Those teams that are hot early. So if you could go watch the Kraken, would you go watch the Kraken?
Yeah, they actually came to Spokane and did a preseason game, and the tickets sold out. And then, the average ticket cost was in the hundreds of dollars. So I couldn't. If they had been affordable, would have I? Of course, because we got a pretty good little, amateur league or whatever it is, minor league. There we go, minor league team and a nice arena there. So the Kraken came over, but the working man couldn't afford it, and that's kind of going to be a big problem for Seattle.
We talk about this thing where the first games were $600 a pop. Well, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And it's because I can burn $600 in a lot of ways, but.
It's disappointing. I got an aunt and uncle on Whidbey Island near Seattle. My aunt is a lifelong NHL fan. She knows more about the sport than most commentators you'll see on ESPN or wherever. And by God, they can't watch the Kraken games because it's blacked out most of the time. They have been waiting. She's been waiting her whole life to have, or not her whole life because she was in LA for a while, but years waiting for this, and they can't watch a game.
Ouch. That hurts. You want to talk any college hockey, George?
We can talk some college hockey. We'll talk some. We can talk some college basketball too. But
college hockey, UMD got a split at Western Michigan last week, and the only reason why I bring it up, not because I'm a huge fan, again, but who's number one in the nation in the pairwise? The Bulldogs are number one in the pairwise.
Well, right, they should be.
And guess who's number two? St. Cloud State. And number three, the team they split with last week, Western Michigan. So the NCHC getting lots of love. They are the top three in the pairwise. And of course, the pairwise is what they pick the teams, the 16 teams that go to the tournament. So good start for the Dogs, 6-2, and
they're playing well.
They're playing well.
Yeah.
I don't think they like losing to Western Michigan, but Western Michigan obviously is no slouch.
No, they are not.
They get CC this weekend. Looking forward to getting down and watching the game at Amsoil on Saturday night. So we'll see how that all pans out. Let's see, anything else college hockey-wise? Gophers got a split with the Cheeseheads. They scored an own goal, Wisconsin did, to give the lead to the Gophers. On a delayed penalty, they pulled the goaltender, they put it into their own. Not too smart.
That was weird.
George wants to talk college basketball.
Well, last night the Gophers got their first win of the season. Ben Johnson's first win in his career, and of course they played Missouri, Kansas City, and with 4 or 5 minutes left, they were only about 8 or 9 points up on them, and then they kind of pulled away a little bit. But they had 8 scorers, and one guy had 19 points. Jamison Battle had 19 points, and so then the Gopher women went down to Jacksonville and dropped to 69-66. I felt bad for Coach Whalen. I think
that's an ominous start to the season.
That is an ominous start.
When you lose at home to a team that was 4-17 last year.
Yes.
But yeah, did you watch any of Kentucky and Duke?
I did. I watched Kentucky and Duke, Duke is back. I'm not sure about Kentucky.
Duke is back.
Duke is back.
Okay. I watched 0 seconds of it, so I'm going to believe you guys.
And today I watched Gonzaga and Dixie State.
Now, poor Gonzaga, number 1 in the nation. They're taking on Division II Dixie State.
Well, I was looking at them. They got 6,000 or 7,000 people that go to school down there, and I mean, before the game, until they set up the bracket, I couldn't have told you where Dixie State was. It sounded like somebody, but it's in St. George's, Utah, and they've got a university, been down there for well over 100 years. And
so you got to watch Chet.
I did.
Chet Holmgren,
yes.
Who had, I believe, if I remember the stat line from this morning, 14 points, yes. 13 rebounds, 6 assists, and 7 blocks.
You see, that's what you call a full night's work. But you know, if they have this guy, he's 7'1", thereabouts, and he can play any position on the court, with maybe the possible exception of point guard, and he has almost got the ball handling ability to do that. And so I think you're going to start seeing, this is the way basketball is going to progress. You got way too many big guys, especially the ones coming over from Europe and stuff, that can shoot that long ball, and he does it with so much confidence. This is his first college game, and he looked like he'd been playing it for years. If he put on 10 more pounds, and he will, I think Chet Holmgren's going to be a great one.
That's close to home for you, ain't it?
Well, I live about 8 blocks from Gonzaga University, and every time they got a game, it screws up my routes to and from work, and then people get all excited the whole year only to watch them choke. So it's a heartbreaker always, and I sit back and laugh all the way home because.
So you don't go over to and watch Gonzaga?
You can't get tickets if you
want. Can
want
I get tickets?
Can't get tickets if you want.
On a working man's wage.
On anybody's wage. You got to be a student or know somebody, and to be a student there, you got to know somebody. So it's
see, it's hard. It's hard being a Zag.
It's hard to be a Zag.
And they got a few distractions this year. So,
one thing I want to bring up, and I don't know if you guys have seen that, but as I was channel flipping through the sports, they had a U-Ball league, and U-Ball is basketball on Sand Beach. And so this is like, and I had never seen this before. And Sue says, well, how do they dribble? Oh, good point. They don't. But they shoot baskets, and this U-Ball league is set up. The winner of this tournament got $5,000 apiece, and these guys could shoot. So I just wanted to take, it's fun to watch. It is evolving each. Now they're going to have, it's going to be almost like a hockey type arena with the audience looking down, and it's evolving. Yeah, on sand. And these, like I say, these guys played for $5,000 a piece, and there were people watching it. It's 15 years after I'm dead, they'll say, Frank predicted that this was going to be hot.
Keeping score, then we're watching. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, that's the way that it works. How about the Timberwolves?
What can I say? Now they're falling apart quickly, and and I don't know what to say. Geez, they looked so good there for a while, but they quit playing defense, and they can't hit, and they can't hit threes.
They're playing the Clippers last Friday night.
Yeah.
I'm at home on a rare Friday night home. They're up 49-29.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't think they scored again until it was like 49-44.
You could see the Clippers coming and just chopping them.
And then they got beat by 20 points.
By 20 points, they got hammered.
So then the other night I'm watching them play Memphis. Honestly, God, this is the truth, folks. It was 75-74 Memphis. I walked into the kitchen. I think I was washing dishes. Don't quote me on that. But I walked into the kitchen. I came back 3 minutes later at the most, and the Wolves were ahead 93-76. This is in the middle of the fourth quarter, like with 8 minutes left or 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. They're up 93-76. I'm like, click. I don't need to watch that anymore. Get Eli ready for bed. We do a little story reading. I turn it on my phone. We're in overtime. Cat just hit a 40-footer off the backboard to put us into overtime.
Oh, and it was a backboard shot. They says, you know, the only reason that shot would have been made if he would have called it, because it was a prayer.
It was.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And then they get Golden State tonight, who's only 9-1. Steph Curry is back, and
I saw Steph Curry play the other night. He had 50 points.
Oldest ever scored.
Yeah. And I mean, and there's
And have 7 rebounds.
There's two guys just like you, close as you are together, guarding him, and he pops up and hits one from downtown. I mean, he's just an incredible basketball
But you know
player.
the scary part about the NBA is the Timberwolves will probably win tonight because nobody's expecting them to win because it's Golden State and they're 9-1.
Yeah.
And Golden State doesn't have all their players. Klay Thompson still isn't back. I think Draymond Green still. They don't even have their full team and they're 9-1. They put everybody on alert.
Yeah. Well, there you are.
Anyway, anything else from the NBA? Besides the fact that LeBron James is hurt, and does that tell us that he's too old?
Maybe. Watching Duke and Kentucky last night, and I saw the kids out there working on. There is a big difference between college and the NBA.
Oh.
And it's just, and it becomes so obvious. It's like watching the difference between high school and elementary kids. It's the NBA are truly gifted athletes, and I don't ever want to deny that. In fact, pound for pound, they're probably the most gifted athletes in sports, and it's so they are something to watch.
What else you got in those notes, George?
I've got a couple of things I want to bring up, but at the end of the show, are we at the end of the show?
We're at the end of the show. Almost.
Okay. Well, first off, I want to thank our friend here for showing up. This is a great reunion.
And his girlfriend for putting up with us.
Yeah.
Come on. And
then
these guys get paid to do it.
And then I know that there's veterans in here, and when this show's showing tomorrow will be Veterans Day, and then just that's fantastic. We should celebrate Veterans Day. Today I watched on YouTube over at Split Rock Lighthouse a service for 46 years ago tonight at 7 o'clock, about an hour from now, 46 years ago. The Edmund Fitzgerald went down, and I knew a couple of people that had relatives on the Fitzgerald. They're from northern Wisconsin, and I was only 1 year off the lake when that happened. So this really affected me. This was something that you thought about when you sailed, but it really didn't happen. The one before that was Daniel J. Morale in 1966. That was before I started. This happened in 75, 9 years later. But, merchant seamen really did not get a lot of credit for all the things they've done in our wars and stuff. In fact, thousands of merchant seamen died on the Murmansk run, and there were more merchant seamen that were killed than the Navy people. I got a Navy man that told me that. And, so I just want to cut it out. There's people right out there right now. They're driving in those boats, and the weather's getting crummy, and they're still going to be driving for another a month or 6 weeks. And, go safely, my friends. That sea will take you. At the end of the service, they rang the bell for 29 times. Prior to that, they sang the Navy prayer, and it was quite something.
Sure.
I don't know as I'll ever not go there next year or maybe ever again. I mean, it was very, very touching scene. So sailors and vets, take good care.
I want to finish up the show by announcing our Bronco Athletic Hall of Fame inductees. We announced it finally this morning. We had a little trouble getting hold of one of our guys, but I announced it this morning without him knowing what was going on or him accepting, and he called a couple hours later because he lives in Alaska, so maybe by the time he figured he should call, he'd call. But anyway, Joe Crotty, 1955 graduate, lives out by you, out in Washington, out that way. And so he's going in, went to St. John's. Amy and Ann Erickson, the twins.
Two of my favorites.
Played in the 88 and 89 state basketball tournament, girls basketball tournament for the Broncos. Went on to play at UMD and won 4 conference and 4 district championships, which means we got to play in the national tournament. So a lot of success there. And then Gary Sampson, the guy who lives up in Alaska, who we were having a tough time getting a hold of because well, he runs a outfitter's business, and he was out in the bush someplace doing his thing. So he finally got back to us, and he graduated in 1978, went on and played for Boston College, and then played in the Olympics in 1984 for Team USA over in Sarajevo, and then finally played with the Capitals. And so all of them very pleased, very honored to get their honor. And then we were going to put in something different this year, 2 football teams. The group kind of discussed that we wanted to put. Well, we're getting worried about some of these older teams, and that we haven't taken care of business maybe like we should have, or possibly could have. So we decided we were going to put the 1946 football team in. We have found out, I believe, and if anybody knows differently out there, please get a hold of me, but we believe that there are no team members alive from that team. They'd all be in their early 90s by this time, and so we're trying to get a hold of family members and those kinds of things as we work through this. And then we're also putting in the 1993 football team.
The 1993, you know what that means? There's going to be a party. Yeah, we coached that team.
Guys, they like the party, I think.
Yes, they do.
Mike Manassa, Yusso, Ginter, Zahn, Magner, Johnson, all these guys that graduated or played on some of the teams just after I got here, because I got here the year after these guys. But of course, the big claim to fame that they got to play in the Metrodome.
They did.
Played in the state semifinals and beat Hutchinson the week before, who was ranked
in a incredible rainstorm.
In the state, nobody thought Hutchinson could be beat, and then the Broncos went onto their home field in a torrential rainstorm and beat them with a fake football.
They says, you guys use an illegal football. What do you mean? It's rubber. It's not leather. Yeah, and you can hang on to it a lot better in the rain. Yeah.
So those guys will all be those 2 teams and those 2 guys and 2 gals, 2 women will be put into the Hall of Fame on April 23rd at a site yet to be fully determined, because we're not sure the American is still going to be there. We are signed up to be there, and if they're going to be open, we will be there. If not, well, we'll see. We'll see how that all plays out.
I am looking forward to this Hall of Fame dinner. This will be a good one.
The Hall of Fame, it will be a good party. And again, I said, I think we're putting in some class individuals. I know that there are people out there probably saying, well, what about so-and-so? Yeah, I get it.
Well, and keep in mind, this is, I take a look at this as a sample of Broncos that have played. And, when you have Joe Crotty, I mean, his brother is there. There's very few running backs in this Hall of Fame. Mike Manassa, Jim Crotty, and Joe Crotty. I mean, Big Frank never carried the football in his life. So
Big Frank carried a lot of other things.
He carried a lot of other things. Yeah.
What do you got, Jordan?
Why that '93 football team? In fact, that's the reason I started playing football. Was watching that team, and I remember many of those games.
They were fun. That was a fun team.
And then it was very fortunate several years later. We got to have Manassa as a coach.
Yes.
And I remembered him as the psycho on the sidelines with the mullet pumping up the crowd. And you wanted to be that guy growing up. So.
No, and you know something, you couldn't have found a better model either. He's a fine young man, but that football team was full of really good, accomplished kids, and it's so.
Yeah, I named a few of them. Those are the ones that come off the top of my head, so I don't want to offend anybody out there that I didn't name. But those are the ones that come off the top of my head very quickly. There's others that could as well, but it's going to be fun again, April 23rd, and hopefully Tim will find some time to get busy and send out some letters and whatever else and get this stuff done. So, Jordan, thanks for coming along.
Yeah, can I add one thing really quick? I know the season's been done for a few weeks, but I want to congratulate this year's Bronco football team on a very solid season. I've been watching and following these guys all along here and there, and they put together what I consider a very good season, and a few things go different in those first few games. That record's a lot better, and I want to thank you guys and your production staff for making it truly awesome to watch. We had several guys from my class that we would get together and Zoom and watch the games, and of course because we had some former friends, kids that were playing on that team. So good work, you guys, and congratulations to that team and to Coach Edestead and his staff getting things going in what I see to be the right direction.
Fair enough. Can't end it any better than that. Thanks everybody for watching.
See you next week.